Okay, hello everybody. I hope you all are having an excellent evening and are all geared up for some classic racing action here today. Welcome to the endurance quarterfinals of Revit. We've got 64 registrations. Yep, a whopping 64 teams taking part in Revit this year. And up till now, the action has been spectacular and with various bouts of victory, emotion, and absolute determination from all these teams taking part in typical Formula student fashion. Now, before we get any further into the stream, let me tell you a bit about Revit. Revit is a virtual racing challenge by Formula Bharat in collaboration with IReSports. Now, this event does have racing, but is also fundamentally a test of your engineering knowledge in setting up race cars, a typical recreation of an FS dynamic event setup with one major difference. Today, we will be having some wheel to wheel action. One of the many advantages of racing in the virtual world: you're safe, you're comfortable in your gaming chairs, and you've got one task: take the checkered flag. Now, Formula Bharat is an Indian Formula student style engineering design competition in which students from different colleges and universities all over the country compete with a life size Formula style vehicle in areas of engineering design, overall cost, marketability, and dynamic performance. The series replicates the global Formula Student Series hosted in around 11 countries per year. Launched in 2017, each year the Formula Student competition hosts both combustion and electric vehicle categories. With a student community base of more than 8,000 engineering students, the platform hopes to promote practical hands-on engineering experiences. Now, IReSports are India's largest e-racing organizers and have created iconic properties in the racing esports space, such as the Indian E-Racing Championship, the Volkswagen Virtual Racing Championship, Mumbai's Fastest Gamer, India's Fastest Gamer, the Indian Sim Racing League, and many more. IReSports curates, plans, and executes custom motorsport-based campaigns via esports across various mediums. So on that note, let's get straight into the racing action. Please allow me to introduce our broadcasting team for today. We've got Firoz and Gaurav as our race directors. They'll be bringing all these excellent camera angles on your screen right now, and will be taking care of stewarding for the race. My name is Saidat Ramesh. I'll be your commentator and would like to invite you all to join us in an evening filled with racing action. We're your broadcasting team here from IReSports and are thrilled to be a part of this journey over the upcoming weeks. So straight into the action, we've got 8 teams participating today. Yes, we've got a total of 64 teams in the competition, but we've got 8 different races over the next 8 days. Today, 8 teams are battling it out, and the top 4 teams will progress to the semi-finals, which will be coming up a few weeks from now. So straight into the action, we've got the classic Lotus 98T, the classic car that was used in the 1986 season by Ayrton Senna. What better track to run these classic cars on than the classic Monza? It's not the classic Monza with the oval, but it's still a classic track nonetheless. A fan favorite, a driver favorite, and for one reason, it is known as the Temple of Speed. It's one of those tracks where you hit one of the highest top speeds you can in an F1 calendar. So let's see what these teams have done, what sort of aerodynamic setups they've gone with, what sort of turbo properties they've set to their cars. And let's see what happens. And also, we will be looking at some of these excellent liveries created by the teams over the next 10 minutes of qualifying, followed by 20 minutes of a race. So just over 10 minutes left in qualifying, so these teams all need to get their lap times on board before the timer hits 0, so that they can get the best advantage possible when the race starts. So let's just, and the next time another car starts their flying lap, we'll ride on board and see some of the technical characteristics of this particular circuit. So a little bit about these cars themselves. Now, these engines actually in race spec put out about 800 to 900 horsepower, but in qualifying trim, they can potentially put out almost 1,200 horsepower, which is a staggering amount. It's one of the highest that we've ever actually seen in the history of Formula One. So these cars definitely don't lack the power, and that's something that is extremely important in a track like Monza, where you've got your throttle open for a majority of the track, when you've got some of the highest speeds possible. That's the sort of car you want for a track like this. This is the first thing we see on our screen right now. Bulls Racing BZR. The driver is Swaroop, and this is their livery, classic black livery with their logo on the car, just looking splendid in the sun, glistening in the sun in these hills in Monza. So yeah, this is the first team we've got on our screen, just putting out his lap time. Right now, Swaroop from BZR is leading the table. This is Sailesh from RFR, that is a Raftar Formula Racing Electric. And this is their livery. A lot more detail, a lot more patterns going on over here. Excellent green in the front. They've got all their sponsors. Big shout out to their sponsors on the car as well, which they've displayed on the vehicle. And I think Sailesh is just going around, which is this seems to be the final set of corners before starting off his next flying lap. We've got the second Raftar car being driven by Swaroop. He's put on a lap time of 1 minute. Well, that's 1 minute 06, but I think that's just one of the sector times right now. Just heating up his tires, getting ready to put out a fast lap as well. Right now, only 5 teams have put out their laps. In fact, only 4 of them are actually valid. It looks like the 5th lap time by Saurav has not yet been counted. That is his out lap after all. But right now, we ride on board with the next car on our grid. This is Vishal from HRT, and then we've got Danish from STESR. Now, we just pull up the names of these teams in their full forms. We obviously do have the abbreviations open over there, but of course, they do have their full names. So STESR is SES Racing. Coincidentally, the driver on board here is Danish Samboli, and man, that's a good camo livery. It might not be the green to camouflage into the trees, but it's good enough to just sneak up on their competition. So let's hope they use that to their advantage as they try to pick their way through the field. I don't think he's going to have to do too much of that. With his current lap time of a 1 minute 39.8, he's comfortably in 3rd place. Let's see if he can ride on board as he starts off his next flying lap. There we go in the cockpit. We're flying down the main straight as we get ready for the first chicane here at Monza. Brake at that 150-meter board, just go downshift into potentially first gear. You don't want to stay in there for too long because you're going to get some wheel spin. He manages that, goes up into 2nd gear and then way up into 3rd, just countering the effects of that turbo. And now you can use that turbo to its full effect as you go through Curva Grande. As he makes his way into the next chicane, the next upcoming chicane here, the 2nd chicane of the Monza track. This is Variante della Roggia. Brake. Don't want to go too wide. That's what he's done over here, but he's taken a more tight line on exit, launches, well, mounts himself on that sausage curb, but manages to just get back on track. I don't think any time's been lost there, and he's got traffic now through Lesmo 1 that sends him wide into the gravel trap. Unfortunate for Danish over there in that STESR racing car. He's going to have to do it once again, and I think he's got a lot of gravel, a lot of unnecessary grass stuck on that tire. He's going to have to pit and get a fresh set of tires put on that beast of a vehicle. This is Vishal going through what is at the end of that straight. That's called the Ascari chicane, a very high-speed section. No doubt we'll be seeing a lot of action going on over there as the race goes on. Just about 6 minutes left in qualifying. And there are still 3 teams that haven't... well, there's still 2 teams, in fact. One of the teams are missing from the grid, but it looks like out of the 7 current teams on the grid, 2 of them haven't put their lap times yet. So it's the 2nd Raftar car, and then the final car on that list is ZM, which is Zenith Motorsport, being driven by Yadunandral PK. So all these drivers are just gonna want to either get back to the pits, maybe tweak something in their setup, I'm not sure, or just keep pushing themselves until they get their tires up to temperature. Got a stream of cars over here making their way through the back straight. Now, something to note is there are only 8 cars over here on the grid, but don't get me wrong, you're still going to have a lot of racing action. The grids have been set so that there's a good distribution of competition on the track. So a lot to look out for. I know we've got still 5.5 minutes left for quali to end, but I'm really looking forward to the race, to the start of the race. To all our viewers out there today, start pumping up, start chatting, start supporting your teams. You've got all your teams out there on the grid. Let us know who you think is going to win and keep cheering on your teams. That's what the competition is all about. Cheer them on, push on your friends, and let's hope for some great racing in just over 5 minutes left in qualifying. So Saurav's managed to get back on track as he starts another flying lap. Let's see if he can again ride on board this time and see what he can do this time around. So once again, powering on down the main straight. Now this is where you're hitting the highest speeds on the circuit. Brake heavily at the 150-meter board into Variante della Rete Figlio. Turn into turn number 1, just staying off the sausage curb, taking it gingerly through that section. He doesn't want to get too much onto that sausage curb, or in fact any of these curves. They're in fact extremely slippery. The only thing you really want to take advantage of at Monza is some of the AstroTurf sections, especially at the Ascari chicane, which we'll see. He's just making his way through Curva Grande, gets ready for the next braking zone under the tunnel up ahead as he breaks into Della Roccia, the second variante of the track. Again, gingerly taking it through. Remember, you see these erratic steering inputs, but remember one thing: everybody on the grid is either restricted to a keyboard, mouse, or controller. So steering wheels are not allowed in this competition, just to keep a level playing field, because after all, the four fundamental reason this competition is being held is to understand your engineering fundamentals and how you can actually set up the vehicles for a race. Finds his way through Lesmo's 1 and 2, again just sticking it to the middle of the track. He wants to get a banker lap on board. If he doesn't do that, he's not going to have any lap time on board, and he might not even start in 6th place. You can already see he's quite far down on that pace as he gears. There's just breaks into Ascari chicane, taking it gingerly once again. So what you really want to do is avoid those black and yellow sausage curbs. Try to take a bit of that AstroTurf, just clip this curb, and then you want to go wide. So I think what Saurav is doing right now is he's trying to get his tires up to temperature. The simulator that they're using today, that every one of these drivers is using, is Assetto Corsa. So tire physics are slightly different from some of the other simulators in the market. Each one differs based on the sort of physics model, the sort of tire models that have been coded in. So it looks like he's just trying to heat up his tires. You can see that from his weaving. He's already well over the quali pace that he wants to target, which is a 133.8. He's going to have to do one more run. He's 20 seconds off pace right now. His teammate, by the way, is also, for some reason, has not got a lap time on board either. So we gotta wait and see what Raftar is up to. I swear, I'm pretty sure I saw Raftar have one of their cars with a decent lap time up there, but I could be wrong. So it looks like one Raftar car in 5th place, the other one in 7th place. But as the order stands, BZR, Bulls Racing is still comfortably in the lead. There you go. That's your pole sitter for the time being. Swaroop way out front, making his way through Lesmo 2, getting onto that back straight, and just using the turbo to its full effect, flying down this very scenic part of the track, to be honest. Goes under the old section, under that oval section of the classic Monza circuit, as he now breaks into Ascari. Let's see what he does, going wide over there, just clipping the inside curb, again keeping it super tight. You can see from this camera angle, so avoiding all the sausage curves, but still trying to go wide on exit as he gets a good run out of that corner. I doubt he needs to do anything more to massively improve from his lap time, but as I say that, pole position has been snatched away by a 1.4 second advantage by Vishal, the HRT driver over there. HRT, of course, being team. Apologies for that. Let me just double check. So yeah, HRT comfortably up in front. Hyperion Racing Team. So pole sitter right now was Vishal Stevens, once again being, which has once again been snatched away by Swaroop. So Swaroop is on a run right now, is on a charge. He wants to have the best advantage as the race starts. 1 minute 30.7. That's a comfortable 1.7 second lead to the car behind. So he's not got much to worry about at the time being. Then you've got the rest of the field. NRE Vedant doing a 1 minute 34.8. STESR Danish also there with a 136.7, and both the Raftar cars struggling for grip. So they might have a tactic over there. Maybe they want to start from the back leg and find their way through the field through the entirety of the race. It's only 20 minutes long. Looking at the sort of lap times, it's going to be somewhere around 10 to 15 laps long, maybe about 12 laps long. So we're going to have to see what happens as the race progresses. Saurav's just trying to get another lap time on board. Sailesh on a flying lap, and he's just trying to weave all over the place. I don't know if he's trying to break the slipstream or just let one of the cars by, but there has been an overtake in the last 1 minute of qualifying. Sailesh spins out, and that's the end of qualifying for one of the Raftar cars. So Sailesh is going to have to settle for P6, and I think in all of this we have again lost connection to one other driver. So now it's just 6 drivers on board when before we had 7. 30 seconds left in qualifying. Let's see what everyone else can do. Vishal's already about 1.7 seconds down on pace with respect to his best lap. He just goes over the line to start his final qualifying run. Let's see if he can challenge Swaroop. The only other driver that can potentially challenge Swaroop right now is Vedant, who's making his way through one of the chicane sequences over here. And if Danish is on a flying lap, he probably has a chance as well. But I don't think we see him anywhere on the grid at the time being. There we go. There's Danish. He's making his way through the second chicane sequence of Della Roccia, getting through into Lesbo 1 and 2. Let's see what he does. There you go. P2 Vishal on a charge. He wants that podium. He wants that pole position back. making his way through Lesmo too. He's being very aggressive this lap. I can sense a stunning lap coming out of him right now because he's just pushing that car to its limits. He knows this is do or die at this point. Making his way under that tunnel. Let's see what he does into Ascari. Brakes just about around the 150, 100 meter board with these cars. Clips the inside curb. Once again, takes it quite tight. Nice through that section. He's got a good run out of this. Let's see what he can do. He's only got one corner left. The final corner, Parabolica. A tight entry into that corner. Then it just widens out. You want to start going as wide as you can. And for those of you who are familiar with some of the other types of cars that run on this track, you would know that the GT3 cars run very differently to the open wheel cars here. You see different lines being taken all over the place. And Vishal manages to snatch away pole by a mere 10th of a second. So this is going to be a really tight battle. Let's see what Swaroop can do. He goes across the line. He's well off pace in this run. Swaroop is going to have to settle for P2. Vishal takes P1. Vedant is in P3. Danish, let's see if he can finish off his lap and take away that final position, the final podium position, at least for the start of the race. I don't think it happens this time by, so that's into overtime, well into overtime for qualifying. So this is the grid as it stands right now. Vishal from Hyperion bringing out a stunning lap in that final portion of qualifying, taking away pole position. Swaroop is in P2. You've got Vedant in P3, Danish P4, both having very similar lap times, and then both the Raftar cars of Saurav and Sailesh on the final row of the grid. So there you have it, 6 drivers taking part in this event. Unfortunately, 2 teams have had a DNF. Let me just double check who those teams were. So we have got NITK Racing. So we've got Skyline Racing and Zenith Motorsport, both teams missing out on this. Skyline by to have been driven by Ankit, and ZM being driven by Yadunandlal. Neither driver making it onto the grid. Let's see if they can make it in time for the race start. But this is how the order stands right now. Okay, so we're all lined up for the race start. We've got 20 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock. That race start will happen when there are 20 minutes left on that timer. Everyone's just sitting there, heating up their engines, typical open wheel fashion. There is no starting lineup. There's no formation lap for this. So everyone's just going to have to make do with the cold tires that are fitted on their cars for the time being. But look at those cars. A stunning grid for this time, for this round here. This is grid number 1. All the lights are going on now. We've got 4, 5, 6 lights are on. The lights are about to go underway. Let's see when they will do it. Yep, the lights are out. We're under green flat conditions. Everyone getting off to a really good start. You can just see those rear wings. You can identify the creams from there. One of the drivers goes wide. Is that Sailesh? Sailesh already goes wide. Gets a bit of an issue on the start that might have some damage on that vehicle. But everyone's making their way into turn number 1. Quite clean as you see right now. So what's happened here? Swaroop has gotten the lead. Vedant's gotten second place. So Vishal has lost out big time over there. I think he had to go extremely carefully into turn number 1, being caught off guard by all these drivers, and another overtake now going on into Curva Grande. That is the STESR racing car of Danish trying to make its way around the outside into Curva Grande, now taking the outside into the second chicane, manages to make it stick. So we're not really sure what Vishal's got planned over here. He's maybe just trying to conserve those tires for this race start. It's not very important right now. Remember, everyone's on cold tires. Everyone's going to want to get those up to temperature before you start pushing to the limit. But Vedant has got a nice little run out of this start and has found his way up into second place. Remember, only the top 4 will make their way into the next round. And Saurav and Sailesh from Raftar have got a lot of work to do right now to start hunting these drivers down. Danish makes a move again for P3. He's lost that out. Yep, and that's Vishal taking that position back. Very risky place to make those maneuvers. But remember, I told you, Ascari is a popular place to make that move. It's one of the main DRS zones in real life. Here, of course, we don't have the DRS zone. But this is Saurav now from Raftar also making his way through Ascari. The rest of the drivers trying to make their way at the end of that straight, finding their way through Parabolica as we round off the first lap of this race. Just about 18 minutes left in the race. Vedant comfortably in second place, a good 3.4 seconds behind the leader, but also about 3 seconds in front of P3 Vishal, and then another 3 seconds from Vishal to Danish, and a massive gap of 13 seconds after that. A lot of stuff is still left to happen in this race. Let's see what happens, going for a little bit of a lawn mowing trip over there, Vedant. I believe that might have been some sort of a controller malfunction. It has to have been a controller malfunction. He went straight on without braking. So he loses second place to Vishal, who's made his way back up. But he's going to want to start hunting down Swaroop. Remember, there aren't any real points up for grabs as you finish these races. These are just qualifying races from the quarterfinal to make your way up into the semis. But of course, if you are in that elimination zone, you're going to have to have a good race pace, because that's going to determine your final order. Vishal doesn't have a good lap time that time, but it's already obvious. He's gone wide over there into that chicane, losing 2 more spots again to Danish, and then Danish goes wide. So this is one of the characteristics, one of the particularities of Monza. You go wide in one section, it's just going to send you into Narnia. Go for a nice little trip to the beach. I don't think they want to go to the beach this time, by they actually want to find their way to the checkered flag. But as the order stands, yes, the top 4 are up there. The Raftar cars hunting their way down from the back. This is again the view through Ascari. You can see, I already suspect HRT is running a really low ride height. It's understandable for Monza, you want to have low drag, but you can see all those sparks coming out. They're really starting to struggle. Remember, it's only in the race start that you have a lot of fuel. As the fuel starts burning off, the tire pressure start increasing, the entire chassis is going to start raising up. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue, but he's going to want to stay off those curbs. Let's see what other tricks he has to start hunting down the cars up ahead. Vedant once again taking the inside line. Very interesting, the sort of line he's taking there. You only really want to do that if you're defending, otherwise you're going to be using a lot of time, losing momentum for the cars. I'm not quite sure what Vedant is trying to do over there. But in all that, in that entire process, he's lost out a few more seconds to P1, to Swaroop. That Bulls Racing car has just flown off into the distance and has almost nothing to worry about at this point, and then massive gaps to cars behind. 16 minutes on the clock. 16 minutes for Vedant to somehow pick up the pace and start hunting down Swaroop, lest he'll have to start defending from Vishal, who's on a charge, who wants to get back P1. He wants to get back into the front of the pack, having started on pole position but missing out in the start. This is Swaroop happily enjoying the scenery on the back straight. Certainly nothing else to do here at this point. It's probably just going to become a fast lap competition for him. Let's see how many more fast laps he can put before that timer runs down. Making his way through Ascari, and you can already see very smooth inputs. He's expertly using that controller to his advantage, and just having the time of his life. He's just enjoying his limelight right now, way out in front. Looks like the only thing that can really stop his charge is some sort of unforeseen circumstance on track. Let's hope nothing happens. Let's hope we have clean racing up till now. It has been fairly clean up till this instant. As Swaroop crosses the line to start the next lap, I think it will be lap number 3, if not lap number 4 of the race. And then we've got the rest of the cars way out at the back. Swaroop again doing a fast lap, 1 minute 35.627. Quite an interesting lap time, very fast for the sort of fuel loads they'll be running. Remember, it's not just 15 laps, it's not 15 minutes or just a couple of laps of quali. This is an entire race, so their fuel loads are going to be different. Their tires are going to be slightly different. Their spring settings are going to be different. In fact, most of the car is going to have slight changes, especially in terms of its aerodynamic effects because of the extra fuel on board. So all these things have been factored in by the teams. Remember, there will be an engineering design finals as well later on at the end of the competition, and some of these teams that have managed to put out really good cars in the entire process will be having an engineering design final session as well. A lot of that is yet to come. We've got a lot of racing up till then. This is just the first round of the quarterfinals. We've got 7 more rounds coming up in the next week. So fairly large amounts of gaps being formed right now. It might be a good time to start looking at these liveries again and just trying to see what it is that helps these cars stand out in what is otherwise quite an empty circuit at this point. You see those gaps over there. Remember, the race is not over yet. We've got 13 minutes on the clock. Anything can happen. We've seen this before in Monza on different occasions. Anything can happen with the length of the race. Very interesting livery again. If you look at the HRT car being driven by Vishal, it looks very similar to the McLaren. If you all remember the McLaren livery, the classic McLaren livery run by Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo in the Monaco GP this year. At least that's what it reminds me of. Let me know what you all think in the comments. We've got 12 minutes of racing action, 12 minutes for all of you to support these drivers in their charge for ultimate glory, in their charge to get into the top 4 and find their way into the semi-finals. Ooh, and there's a bit of netcode. Is that netcode, or has he just got himself stuck on that curb? Well, it's one of those two, but Vishal has lost a massive chunk of time by being just planked on that curb. Is this that low ride height coming to haunt him again? Is the low ride height of that car affecting the way it actually powers its way out of those curves? Not quite sure. At least by this point, the fuel load should have reduced quite significantly. And he goes for another little bunny hop over that. Everything's going wrong for the pole sitter from the race, HRT Vishal. He's just finding his way around the circuit now. If he starts making more mistakes, that's going to start closing the gap between him and Saurav and Raftar. Let's just have a look at where Saurav and Sailesh are in all of this action. Okay, so there we go. Saurav right now making his way through. What is this? I think this is Curva Grande, sticking tight on that line. We see that Vishal has already made his way somewhere through the Lesmos. So a lot of work to be done by the Raftar boys at the back. But you know, with a lot of time on the clock, anything can happen. They're gonna just have to keep pushing. We saw Saurav start dropping back in the beginning, and Sailesh had what looked like a technical issue in the beginning. Not quite sure if Sailesh is still in this race. Doesn't look like it's Sailesh is in the pits. Looks like it could have been an unfortunate disconnection. So Raftar's going to have to bank on the other car on track. About 40 seconds now. A lot to play for with around 11 minutes of racing left. But these are the gaps you see on your screen right now. 22 seconds to the car way out in front. There are about 5 seconds between P2 and P3, and then another 3 seconds to P4, and then a sizable chunk of track between P4 and P5 right now. Okay, just over 50% of the race left, and as the order stands, Bulls Racing is running away with this race lead. 25 seconds. 25 seconds is almost around the time it takes to pit on this lap. So obviously Bulls Racing has got that formula tackled for Monza. Their setup must be brilliant. Their drivers got super comfortable in the car, and right now it's just about Swaroop bringing that car home safely with a sizable chunk of track between him and P2. P2, of course, is NRE Vedant. NRE is NITK Racing Electric, which has also found their way into this grid right now comfortably in second place. NITK Electric was 7th place in Formula Bar 2021. Got an award for remarkable improvement in statics. So a team that's really charging the way through. I'll tell you one thing, NRE's had a remarkable improvement from this race as well. Having got a good start in the beginning, Vedant has found his way up into P2 and is really owning that position. Look at that livery. Look at that brilliant livery, red with streaks of yellow. I mean, that's just really good. Stands out really well in a very green and also quite yellow and orange track itself. It looks like Monza's in its autumn season in game, but nonetheless, this car looks brilliant. It's one of my favorite cars on the track. Then you've got the camo, you've got the neon camo livery of SCESR. Danish in P3 right now, all set to take that podium spot. He's got around 7 to 8 seconds to Vishal behind. We know that Vishal is extremely fast. We saw his quali pace. It's only a matter of time before he starts hunting Danish down unless he picks up his pace as well. But right now, that's another stunning livery. Man, I'm telling you, half the competition is going to be about me just admiring this liveries. I just love looking at them. HRT Hyper Eon Racing being driven by Vishal. Happily right now in P4, but he's going to want to find his way onto the podium spot. Everybody knows you need the top four, you need to be in the top four to progress, but everybody in racing knows that at least you want to get that coveted podium finish, if not outright victory, which seems to be in the hands of Swaroop right now. But yeah, everybody's battling for P3. I'm quite sure Vishal's trying to hunt down Danish. Just about 7 seconds right now. Let's see how that gap changes. There is a bit of change. Remember, these gaps are quite dynamic. It's very interesting the way gaps have been coded into Assetto Corsa. They actually happen instantaneously as opposed to being updated every few hundred meters like you do on a real circuit. So some of these gaps might be misleading at times. I would strongly recommend you try to remember what the gaps are at different points on the circuit, and then when we get back onto those cars next time by on another lap, you'll see exactly how much time has been gained. One thing is for sure, the gap between P3 and P4 has actually closed down quite a lot. It's about 4 to 5 seconds. It's dropped down from 8 seconds. And it'll be great to see Vishal's on board right now, just see what he can see up ahead. Can he even see P3 up ahead on the screen? I'm quite sure he won't be able to this time by. He might be able to see it when he crosses Lesmo 2 as he gets back onto the back straight. Very tight line taken by Vishal. I think I can just see the glimpse of Danish's race car up ahead. It's about 4 seconds. Yes, you can see Danish going through Lesmo number 2. I think this is going to be a battle that's going to start finding its way on screen in the closing stages. I'll tell you one person who's completely been off screen. That is Swaroop running away now with a 33-second lead for the race. You gotta love that camera angle. It just shows the rotation of the car as they find their way through the first chicane. A very straightforward livery, not gonna lie, for Bulls Racing, but it definitely does give a simple and straightforward message that they're just here to take that victory all the way. Very formal, very professional looking livery as they find their way to take pole position. Well, they already started away pole position at the race start, but now they're just trying to find their way onto the top step of the podium. Everybody wants to win at Monza. It's one of the more glamorous circuits of any racing season across any racing series. You might think it's quite a simple track. It is. It might look simple on paper, but I'll tell you one thing: it's deceptively simple. It's deceptively straightforward. There are a lot of things that can catch you out. One thing for sure is, one section especially is the Ascari chicane. You see, once again, BZR is scrubbing the floor with their car. So it looks like a lot of these teams have opted to run lower ride heights. HRT is also running it, and you can see that in their pace. So this is probably one of the things that these two teams particularly have cracked. Let's see if we can see what other teams are finding their way through Ascari. Let's have a look at the sparks being just being ejected from these cars at Ascari. We've got NRE, NITK Racing finding their way through. No sparks this time by. He's taken it quite aggressively, so it could be a sign that's NRE has decided to go with a slightly higher ride height. Perhaps they started with maybe much softer springs as well, which is another thing that will change the ride height more massively as the race goes on, as that fuel burns off. Now you see this battle starting to emerge. 5 minutes left in the race, and the battle for P3 is far from over. Danish pushing that car to its limit. Vishal hunting him down just over, I would say, just about 2 to 3 seconds at this point. He will get within that slipstream advantage zone very soon. He's just got about another lap to do it, I believe, before he gets close enough to overtake Danish. Danish not going to give that place away easily as he comes up to lap, that is the Raftar car, I believe, of Sora up ahead, unless Sailesh has gotten back into the race. But that is a lap car up ahead, so giving way, very politely giving way over there as Danish finds his way through Curva Grande once again. Yep, taking it a lot more carefully this time. We saw Vishal go a bit wide there a couple of laps ago, somewhere towards the beginning of the race. So now he knows he can't afford to do that. He's hunting down P3 way up ahead. And I think once that battle starts getting a bit more feisty, it'll be awesome to ride on board with Vishal and just see what happens. You see him already gaining down the DRS straight, the back straight. He finds his way down into Ascari once again. So this is where HRT might be losing some time. In fact, even the car up ahead is also losing time over there. I think it's quite obvious that many of these teams are running lower ride heights, as I've said, and I think this is something that we're going to have to look out for over the upcoming days. We'll see what other teams have opted to go for this strategy. No doubt, it's always better to run lower ride heights in Monza, but let's not get too much into the details. It's all about what these teams have done, not about what would theoretically be right. Remember, a lot of elements in the game are not 100% like they are supposed to be in real life. So it's a lot of this sim racing technical setup work. It has a lot to do with understanding how the sim has also been coded, not just what you would actually expect to happen in real life. And this is where spending a lot of time with the simulators really helps you develop that intuition and understand what it takes to actually set up the vehicle and tackle the formula of getting victory here at Monza. Far from victory, Vishal's far from victory right now, the pole sitter for the race, but he's definitely has a chance to take that podium spot over here. See what happens. Remember, these drivers are already through to the next round, the semi-finals, if they hold their position right now. But if you make any mistakes, if you get any sort of terminal damage, it's going to be game over. You don't want to pit or change your tires or anything right now, because if anything happens up in front, Raftar has a good find their way into P4 as well. Vishal just setting up that overtake. I doubt it's going to happen this time, but he's quite far away. But we might see an overtaking maneuver happen. I was going to say at the main straight, but it looks like he considered doing it here itself. Very safely backed off. I think both drivers respected the space over there. But you're definitely seeing an overtaking maneuver coming up now into T1. Let's see how the car up ahead manages to defend as they make their way down into the final corner, about to start what will be, I believe, the penultimate lap of the race. Vishal finding his way. Let's see what he does. He is in that slipstream advantage zone. He is definitely getting an advantage. Not the sort of advantage you'll get from DRS, but he is hunting that car down. And it'll be interesting to see what sort of lack in grip he's going to get. This is where you also start getting dirty air from the cars up ahead. As he cuts that chicane, I think he's going to have to give some time back to the game, and that's what he's done. He had to slow down over there. Unfortunately, Assetto Corsa penalizes you and makes you slow down when you cut any sort of corner. So unless Danish makes any more mistakes, it looks like he will comfortably take P3. Quite surprising to see the HRT cards. Surprising to see Vishal slowing down that much. Quite interestingly, you can actually slow down quite a bit in chicanes as well, and the game still considers that as you serving a penalty. So it might be quite unwise to do that on the main straight. Let's see what Vishal has planned right now. We've just got about one more lap of racing. Vedant's making his way down into Ascari. Swaroop has already started the final lap of the race and will be thrilled to be taking away this victory. Unless anything happens in the final lap, he's set to take the top place, the top podium spot at Monza this fine evening, making his way through Curva Grande as he gets ready to take that final chicane. There is something on the track that looks like the red car. Is that Vedant? Has he spun? I don't know, that looks like a red car. The only red car on track is Vedant. I have no idea what's happened. No, that's not Vedant. Okay, my apologies. Who is that on track? Was that Vishal who spun? I have no idea. I mean, it's just cycling through the cars. Didn't look like it was that car. But that is PK. He's found his way back on track. PK, of course, is from Zenith Motorsport. That is Yadunandlal PK from Zenith Motorsport ZM. He decided to start the race on, coincidentally, the last lap of the race. So I think that would have been an unfortunate disconnection in the beginning. But that's one of the unfortunate instances, the incidents that will happen in racing. That's going to potentially be a DNF for ZM. They would be making their way into semi-finals, but still a good show, good sportsmanship. It's good to see them trying to complete another lap. Complete one lap in this race, and officially classify themselves as some sort of finishers in the race. Swarup makes his way through the final corner, that is Parabolica, exiting. Let's see if he does any donuts or victory celebrations at the end. Uh, Looks like Vishal has managed to get into P3. So what's happened here? Something has happened to Danish in this process. Vishal has now found his way back into P3. Danish miles behind, just still on the previous lap. So yeah, something happened in those last few laps, and he's dropped down into P4. Swarup has finished the race, I believe, but he's still going for some reason. I need to double check that. We're just going to have to see if the graphics show up the checkered flag, but it should have finished by now. Either way, Vedant is in P2, and looking at the timer right now, he's coming across the line at the end of this corner to comfortably take P2 from this race, powering his way down onto the main straight. There you have it. That's done. That's Vedant taking NITK Racing Electric, a second place finish from this race. Vishal finding his way through Askari right now, trying to round off his final lap of the race. And then we've got Danish in P4, who will comfortably finish in P4 as the order stands. We're well into overtime right now. We're going to just have to see what Swarup is doing. Is he continued going? Is he doing a victory lap? Did he opt to do that instead of victory donuts? No. Well, Danish has opted to do a few celebrations on the main straight. Who else do we have left? So we have Saurav coming in P5. Very unfortunate. Not sure what happened in the race start. Unfortunately, Rafta will not be going on to the finals, the semi-finals, because the top four go through unless any sort of penalties get applied. I don't see anything happening at the time being, but still a good show from Raftar, continuing on with the race, finishing in P5. This is the order. These are the classifications from this race. Swarup from BZR from Bulls Racing taking away P1. Vedant from NITK Electric taking P2 with 280 points. HRT Vishal Hyperion taking P3 to finish off the podium. And STESR Danish taking P4. That is SCES Racing taking P4. And these four teams will be the ones that will qualify, that will go on to the semi-finals as the order stands. Anyhow, official classifications will be out soon. But on that note, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we don't have any interviews lined up today, but these are just the quarterfinals to find your way into semis. We will be streaming at the same time every day for the next 7 days. We've got a total of 8 races, 64 teams trying to battle it out to take those 32 semi-final spots. On that note, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us on this evening. Once again, it's been Firoz and Gaurav as the race directors, bringing you all these spectacular racing camera angles and also stewarding the race. My name is Saidat Ramesh, and it's been a pleasure to be a commentator today. We'll see you all again tomorrow. But as the order stands, those are the results on screen. Enjoy looking at those. This is Saidat Ramesh signing off on behalf of IReSports and Formula Bharat. We'll see you tomorrow. right, viewers, I'll jump back in. A small little bonus. We do, in fact, have interviews today. So, for all of you who are still here, thank you so much for sticking around. And if you want to call your friends over to watch the interviews, please do go ahead. But right now, in the interview box, we have P3 finisher Vishal Stephens. Vishal, welcome and congratulations for finding your way into P3 after a little bit of a messy start. Can we first start off with what happened in the race start with your pole position? What happened in the turn one? Okay, I think we're having some technical issues from Vishal. Just give it a minute. Okay, apologies for that. Looks like we have some technical mic issues from the driver's end, so we will not be able to do with the interviews today. Hopefully, we'll get some more tomorrow. A lot of races left, 7 races left. Hope to see you all there. On that note, have a great evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.